Hey, I am Nathan. I am the director of content at FastSpring. I'm here with Fred. Fred, would you please introduce yourself to the people listening to this call?
Sure. My name is Fred, or I go by Fred, but I have very Swedish names. It's Frederic Linfjärd. But yeah, Fred will do.
Very cool, Fred. Thanks for taking a couple minutes with me today. I'm located in the U.S. Where are you located in the world?
So I live in south of Sweden, Malmö, but I'm based and work in Copenhagen since 8 years back. Currently, I'm the director of growth marketing at a company called Planday, SaaS, a SaaS platform for workforce management, and yeah, that's what I do my daytime. And on my evening times, I spend that with advising companies such as FastSpring and others on growth and different types of marketing tactics. Yeah.
Very cool. Can you give me just like a quick background, sort of like what are you world class in? Like what's your background and your experience?
Yeah. So I think for the last, I would say, since 2010. So basically, I started, not in this field at all. It's quite a funny story. I was a musician, right? So going around playing with bands, and I was uh, to be able to survive on that, I was doing a lot of affiliate marketing, building blogs, sites, e-com sites, rank it on Google, selling other people's products to sort of get a passive income to go out and play, right? And yeah, as you get older and music industry is hard to live by, I sort of moved into this field naturally because I've tried so many different type of things.
Right. So what range was that? Like what date range?
Well, I would say from the early 2000s, even before starting with web, starting with SEO, right? Going into testing back then when it was, I don't think no one even called it CRO even. I mean, basically just testing different things, tactics to get an edge. Uh, and then around 2010, 11, sort of went into more professionally uh, graduating and starting working for different types of businesses.
Yeah, very cool. I was gonna guess sometime like 2005 to 2010. That was really the um, when affiliate marketing was all the rage back in those days. So I remember those days too.
Yeah, that was when you could put just a lot of text on your website and have the font in the same color as the background, and just put a lot of keywords in there.
But that was a long time ago, and yet not that long
Yeah.
ago. Um, so I think what's interesting about that is so you've sort of taken us to sort of the beginning of really like I mean conversion rate optimization as a field really sort of was born out of that sort of A/B testing phase. Like it started right around then, right? 2008, 2009, 2010, really moving into that period of time when websites started to get more sophisticated. And I think especially like SaaS and software kind of had it has its origins in that time. And you've been right there this whole time, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think, back then it was all about, testing a blue button or a red button and all these type of things. And it's changed a lot now. I mean, it's definitely harder and harder. Some of the practitioners in the fields, they're almost science uh, because it's just actually very, very hard to master that skill, really. And it's going more and more about it's becoming a process. Optimizing your process more than the tactic of it.
Well, let's get into it then, because this is really what I was hoping we would start to talk about, and why, in the conversations we had leading up to this conversation, we started to talk about like what is conversion rate optimization for a subscription product? Is it just optimizing the buy button? It's not anymore, is it? Like, and if it's not just that, what else is it?
I mean, it's a really good question, right? Because I think many might have a misconception that it's just you go out and you run a ton of tests, right, randomly, which is usually the worst thing you can do. I usually say that sometimes the best A/B test is not to run an A/B test because it just takes a lot of time. It could be quite complex, And the worst thing that can happen is that you end up with an inconclusive result, which means that you haven't even learned anything from it. So nowadays it's more about building sort of a process, a way where you and a methodology sort of where you consistently find the right ideas, create experiments, right? You prioritize it based on where you think the most highest business impact is, and you run the test, and then you do it all again, and you try to do that as fast as possible. Really, that's what it's about, I would say.
What kinds of things? So in your, like, give me a couple of examples of that iterative process and how that has worked in your career.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of it's kind of always worked itself like that for me. Like even when I was in affiliate marketing, that I can remember, I always worked on the process. So instead of how many creating a WordPress site for a niche that I find, I try to figure out how fast can I create a WordPress site when I have that niche, so I can create maybe 10 of these sites over a weekend instead of just doing one, to thereby just making sure that I'm spreading the risk that I will hit one of them, right? So yeah, I would say that would be the way when I look back at it. And for examples, it really depends on what type of business you're in, right? So if you're in e-com and maybe subscription e-commerce where you have like a lot of low value orders, but it's a high quantity, yeah, then you might want to try to figure out, how can I get people more to buy? So the checkout optimization, where can I find the big dents, localization, etc. Whereas if it's more B2B SaaS, it's really more about messaging, positioning, testing that. I would say, if that, yeah, that makes sense.
Let me ask this question: if for someone with a SaaS company or a subscription software company, if you came into that company and you're going to advise that company, and let's say that they were, it's a not a huge price point, but also not a low price point, kind of in the middle. And same with volume, meaning like it's not like an enterprise sales, but it's also not like $5, per transaction sales. Where would you start in trying to help them optimize that flow of converting people from when they first start on the site all the way to when they become like a high value paid customer? What types of things would you look at to start with? Where would you start to experiment?
Well, you kind of have to go back a little bit before the experiment and kind of looking at the data and just trying to find those patterns on like what type of customers are closing faster and yields a longer lifetime value, right? Trying to find that pattern between those, and then kind of then formulate sort of a hypothesis, an idea on how you can get more of those, or how you can make it more easy for those type of people to convert, and thereby then start testing different things. So and it could be you kind of have different types of levers to pull, right? You can pull the converting into trial metric, right? But you can also pull the acquisition metric, right? So increase the traffic, and then also after a trial, get them from trial to customer as well. So it really depends on where I see the highest potential that I can do as fast as possible, and try to get those first.
You mentioned three things there. So traffic is one lever, convert to trial is another lever, trial to paid is another one, and then churn being the last one. Yeah.
Churn, the last one.
Of those four, like, is there one of those that you find is like a consistently underused like lever, like an area where people don't spend enough time?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I think it's what I've seen is that many people stops after they convert off a trial or after they pay. They kind of stop there, and then just focus on traffic, surface metric like converting to a trial, and then they don't really see, are they churning, after 1 month, right? Or are they actually staying? I think that is being uh, I've seen people miss that in companies, and because you can make the same amount of revenue, instead of increasing the trial conversions, you just retain them for a longer period of time. It would be kind of even itself out, right?
Right. This is, I think this is what we were getting at when we were talking in the like before we start click record, was that there's more to it than just getting people to click that first button on the homepage, right? Like how, like CRO and conversion rate optimization for subscription products is, it's just different than what CRO has been considered for a long time, especially just in the sort of e-commerce world. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's by far different from the traditional B2C e-commerce store where you buy a T-shirt or you buy something, because there's such a high quantity there, right? That where you can actually really focus in on maybe checkout conversions, playing with different things like free shipping, etc. Where one small little nudge annually will actually be a quite a big yield. Whereas subscriptions, it's more about that recurring revenue. It's not about the first revenue you get. In fact, in many times, a tactic that you can use in subscription is to actually give them the first month for free, right? So it's much more about the continuous recurring revenue and keeping that, making that as long as possible with various tactics, right?
What what other tactics? So so if I just ask you, like, what else should I be trying in addition to sort of 1 month free? Like, how else could I get more of that recurring revenue?
Well, I mean, I think in subscription you have like the classic ones that have been tried, techniques that you see everyone is doing. Like, you have the classic one where you show your pricing plans, where if they choose an annual plan, they get 20% discount. Obviously, that will give you more upfront revenue, and you keep them for 1 year. But then I think also what you should be doing is, once you, like, if you understand how people buy products, and let's say that I'm researching this product, I want to try it out. Maybe I've tried a trial, but I keep want to try it, so I sign up for a monthly subscription, right? uh, your main goal should be to get them from that monthly subscription to an annual. Like, that would be your one focus that you want to start with, and you need to kind of really, really dig in on those monthly subscribers, understand them, understand what you need to provide them with in order for them to actually, upgrade to a yearly, right? Uh, so that is a focus area. And in terms of tactics, what you can do, yeah, you can do many different things. I mean, you need to kind of look into, like, what's the aha moment that is going to make this person like, yes, I'm definitely going to use this product. Doesn't make sense that I pay monthly. I'm just going to upgrade, right? And those are the small little levers that you have to pay. And it's hard to name like a few, because it's really different from each business. So you kind of need to be, you need to know that there's no best practices that work. It's going to be completely unique for your business. So you need to have that process to find that, and find that as fast as possible, right?
What's a let me ask it a different way. See what you say. Like, you, what's a tactic that you have seen work in a specific context to get people to make that switch from that early subscriber to an annual plan?
So there's there's one thing, mainly I would say, if you deal with well, sort of B2B, you can kind of, like, if you know that a lot of people, they actually, you can see a pattern that they're using it a lot, the product, but they're still on a monthly subscription. You can kind of use, you want to look into, uh, okay, so they're using it, but they're not actively thinking of going into a 1 year subscription, because it just takes from their card. But if these people need to put in like an expense report, a monthly expense report to their finance department. That's something that you can play around with, and hey, we've seen you, do this monthly, a monthly charge. Must really, be painful to do these expense reports. Why don't, we give you 20% discount and we'll kick you up to the annual plan and you'll get this, and this as well, and actively sending that out, in an email offer or something like that.
That one would work on me for a few things that we pay for.
Yeah.
Very good. So so how else would talk to me more about like the difference between what traditionally has been thought of as conversion rate optimization and how that is different for like SaaS companies or a subscription software product?
Well, I think traditionally CRO or A/B testing, is that it's just been this no process or anything, or like where you try all these different things, like small pointless things, like blue button or green button, and all these different things that doesn't really make a big dent, especially if you're a B2B SaaS company. It's not even about the button, it's about the messaging. The one thing that I say, if you're B2B SaaS and you have a longer types of sales cycle, you have a trial, you need to be testing copy, you need to be testing messaging. That is 90% of the tests that I would run. Is basically working with the different functions from product marketing to product, digging up insights from your customer support cases, or reviews on tracks, and trying to like find really good messaging and unique selling points, right? That and test those out.
So tell me more about that. How am I doing that in email? Am I doing that on the web page? Am I doing that on the first page people see behind the trial sign up? Like where can I experiment with things?
I mean, here's what I think is important to understand. You need to look at everything from the first touch, whether that would be an ad or a blog post coming in from SEO, to the part where they move down to that, in that kind of buyer's journey, they okay, I'm getting attracted out of content, I'm coming back now, I want to find the features, I want to know what benefits and how it solves my problem, and then then in the end you kind of like being able to just it makes sense for them to start a trial. So you kind of need to look at it across that funnel, and you want to kind of, I would say, move away from let's get them to download a white paper and give us their email address. That stuff is starting to go away.
Why do you think that doesn't work out? Just
someone destroyed it for us. I mean, there's just so many people that just ask for email addresses, and then what they gave you was just complete crap, no value in terms of content. So it's kind of ruined it for everyone.
Content people.
Yeah,
content people wrecked it.
No, yeah.
As a content person, I will own that.
but to me, it's just important to also emphasize there's a difference between content people and people who create content, if that makes sense. And I mean that in the best way, because the one thing I say, when you create a growth team, you need a kick-ass content person, copywriter or something that understands that I'm going to work on a piece of content. Get actually the company, your own organization, I'm going to work on a piece of content. It's going to take a month. It's going to provide a heap of value, and I'm going to give that away for free. That's going to be a hard sell in most organizations to C-levels, etc. They're going to come at you and ask for, oh, well, you got to gate it, so we get their email address, and that's stuff that you have to fight against. Doing a lot of these tests and continue doing it, double down on tests. So it's until you kind of find what resonates, right? And then you kind of have to understand also that all these parts, uh, your channels, your model, and your product, the market, they're moving parts. They're not static, which means that once you saturate the channel, like you have when you go in a channel to get your traffic in and you're using messaging, if you that channel can be saturated, which means that the messaging might not work anymore because the people that you're talking to, are not getting that message anymore in that channel, which means that you need to figure out a new type of messaging. So everything kind of evolves. It's just about not standing still in the end, and trying different things. I would say one thing that 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 one can try to do is also try to personalize it, uh, via various tactics. Personalize your website so you can kind of change the experience based on who is on your website. And there's various techniques that you can do to accomplish that instead of A/B testing different messages. Instead, you kind of is trying to show different experience to people based on who they are, even before they convert.
What types of things can you do? I think that there is so much in that space that is maybe not even well known yet, because a lot of it is pretty new. Some of it's been around for a while, but what can I do to change what people see on my website based on who they are, where they're from, or what I know about them?
So, it depends really about the business, but some businesses have different verticals, right? So you might have a company. I've experienced this where we want to reach small customers, right? That's what we want to do. But we also want to sell to mid markets and enterprise, which doing those three things is a recipe for failure, right? But that's not always the reality that you say like, hey, no, we should only focus on one. So what you can do is, all right, we have a website. Well, let's try to figure out how we can spot the mid-market customers. Yeah, so there's actually technology that you can use on your website to map who's there to actually what company and industry they're on, and then also change the website. So if it's a mid-market company in there, I'm not going to show the free trial button. I might show a view a demo or book a demo, right? Whereas the rest of them, the theory would be that they are a bit smaller. I might want to just send them into a free trial. So like differentiating them on the website in a good way by using like website personalization. They'll take you some ways.
I've seen that done in a couple of ways, not even through technology. Like sometimes I've seen like you land on the page and it'll ask you like, are you this? Are you a small customer? Are you in the, like, depending on what I click, it takes me to a different experience based on it. So some of that can work. But you were talking about doing it in an automated way, like where there's technology driving it behind it. Like what tools are there that I could sign up for?
Yeah, there's definitely different tools that can do that. I think they go under the category intent tools. You would have tools like Albacross, Lead Feeder, Lead Forensic, those kind of things where there's basically a big database, uh, uh, and you map the IP address, right, to that database, and it gives you back sort of a company name. But you can't really, be all sort of that you can't only be doing that because obviously with COVID and etc. more people are home, right? So you might not be able to map, but people might be using VPNs and stuff. So you kind of have to test that, right? To see if it works. For some companies, it might work really good. For others, they might not get any traction on that technique because their target audience are just not covered by it. They don't exist in any database, right? The right better. So it's a test approach. You kind of have to try it out.
What about like localizing stuff? Can I localize I know I can, but I want to see what you have, like what experiences you've had with that. Like, because there's, depending on where people are, I can change what people see on the website and in different areas of the website. Has that worked for you?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the same thing where you want to you could the messaging in a country. Let's say you have you're targeting different markets, right, or industries in different markets. It's in that messaging is going to be different. That's why it's so important that you have a like a native content writer or even a subject matter expert in that field helping you, right? I know for instance, when I work Capture One, uh, I would use Upwork for freelancers, right? So Capture One is a photo editing software, right? So I would want to find uh, basically a photographer or that that is a copywriter or a copywriter that has a passion about photography in that country. So if I would translate it over to Spanish, I would find like maybe a journalist student that loves taking pictures have in Spain, and I would want that person to write my copy and content, right? Or translate and localize it, if that makes sense.
I love that tactic. How do you do that so that you know who you're sending that information to? Is that, does that change what people see on the website? Is it what they get through email, depending on their location? How are you targeting people in that without those different messages?
Well, I think maybe for this reasoning, it's just if you have a Spanish version of your website, right? So you would wanna do that, and uh, for Capture One in that sense, is our whole website um, was about photography and photo editing, right? Whereas in Planday, where I am now, there's multiple types of personas in play for different industries in different countries. You can have a coffee shop owner, that has 5 employees, but you can also have a Starbucks where there's 5,000 users, and then you have like so there's so many different layers and then it becomes trickier and harder, right? And that's where you need to prioritize, you know really based on okay, where do I see the most value that I should focus my experimentation efforts, and at a certain time, right?
And that would be, you do that by potential revenue, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. All these different parameters, how hard it would be to reach them, uh, how many, how long are the sales cycles, how hard would it be to close them, so yeah, there's so many different parameters in play. It becomes tricky, right?
Can I localize like currency, stuff like that in within the checkout process?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I would say that is, uh, like, I mean, if you're in subscription and ecom and you're selling globally, that's kind of where you want to start if you want a quick win. Like, I mean, with Capture One, uh, I think, from when I started, where we had a kind of a home built solution, we offered you could pay with, American Express, MasterCard, and Visa in either Danish krona or euro or dollars ex VAT. You know, that is a very attractive situation for a guy like me, because I know that if I would, for instance, put in a solution like FastSpring, where I all of a sudden goes from three currencies to 25 or something, and local payment methods, that is like a very attractive test and uh, to do, because that's really especially when you do be sort of that type of subscription business where you have many transactions that are of lower value. I think we charged 299 US at that time. um, it becomes kind of more important there again that they need to understand that it's safe and secure, I can pay with my card. I can use my local payment method. If it's so for Germany, or if it's Alipay or whatnot, right? Like that is actually something where you can really really gain a lot of good return on investment by just doing that. So I mean that would be like a basic thing. I would do it immediately.
This is so you just to clarify, you're saying if a SaaS or subscription business wants a quick win to increase the overall effectiveness of their funnel, one area to look at is localizing currency.
Localizing currency and offering local payment methods, and then also a localized checkout. Like if you are a company that you have a product, you have traffic from different countries, like all these things, then it's almost a no-brainer. You don't need to do an A/B test or anything. You just need to go and implement pretty much.
What's a big failure story that you had from your career? Something you tried that you thought was going to be great, and you looked at it and you're like, wow, like that didn't work at all.
I would say so many, right? I would say that maybe I get my intuition might give me that I might get 50%, 60% right. I mean, there's so many times in my career where I've been running tests where, I think like, oh, this is beautiful. It's great UX, clear understanding, and I put it to test, and then the ugly form or page, whatever, converts higher, right? And it kind of makes you a little bit humble. You kind of have to check your ego at the door. Like whatever you think might work, it probably won't. That's why you have to just test it and see how your customer thinking. It's like right now, I mean, at Planday, we have people that wants to log in, signing up for a trial for some reason. Why?
Every SaaS business has that, and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
exactly.
I love it. So let's speak to the SaaS owner out there, or the SaaS, the person who owns the website at a SaaS or software company with a subscription product. Give me one or two things that like you really want that person to know about conversion rate in the full funnel, like converting people across the whole experience. Like what are a couple of things that they really, really like they should take away from this interview?
I mean, I think a couple of things that I think when it comes to SaaS, B2B, is that again what I said before, that your messaging, like the copy of your messaging, getting that right and tirelessly trying to find out how your customers work and working on that messaging. Obviously, connecting it with your product, right, and making sure that they all they succeed in their product. But I think that one is very not people don't spend as much time on that they should on the messaging and positioning and all that type of things, right? Because a lot of these categories, they get crowded, right? So you really need to stand out, and you also need to make sure that you continuously also work on the product to kind of find your type of niche and where you want to play, and then also really building working on your content, also testing that part, building that demand. So I would say that.
Fred, we have one more conversation we're going to have. So we will do a whole other episode about churn, because you have a story to tell there. We held that one because it deserves its own episode. So if you're listening to this and you want to hear more from Fred about churn, it'll be in the next episode. But Fred, we will put your LinkedIn in the links wherever this video is, below, beside, in the notes, so people can connect with you. Is there anything else that that people should know? Connecting with you on LinkedIn is a good place to send them, right?
Yeah, definitely on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. I love to engage and talk with like-minded spirits and trading insights, etc. So please do.
Thanks for coming on today, Fred.
Thank you so much, Nathan.